you know, I'm earning double XP. Can't add all my characters void armor. Now, man, the okay, people on stream yesterday were talking shit on me, um, because I'm still wearing Amarok armor on a lot of my guys, because I don't care. And the guy was like, "Oh man, you're gonna get one of these guys." Guy, I don't know if he's in the stream today or not. He was like, "Man, you're gonna get destroyed in World 3," and I was like, "No, I'm not, dude. Like, even without the gear, I still do a lot of damage. Like, I don't. Um, I mean, I'm taking 30 damage a hit, but I'm still gaining back. Yeah, most of the defense, most of your stats come from alchemy, post office, everything else. Like, these are the first mobs in the world. Now, this isn't, you know, this is a little bit of an outlier because I have my shrines right now, so I have a lot of damage and stuff like that. But don't, I don't know, you know, just play the game and make progress. But like, your guy will be fine without any gear or without anything. Well, maybe not 100%, but could be. Um, I have this crazy long story, and it doesn't super matter, but that's kind of funny. I guess I could tell you guys are just hanging out. You've joined my nightmare where Drew just tells weird stories and plays weird games. But um, my wife, okay, so we have horses. That's probably important to the story. So um, we have three horses now. At the time, we just had one, and at the time of the story, we used to live in town. Now we have some property outside of town, and so our horses are in the backyard. Um, if the streaming thing goes crazy and I'm still enjoying it and everything else. I've only been streaming for a couple weeks. I should probably tell you guys that. So that's why there's no webcam. That's why my microphone's kind of popping, and why you'll occasionally hear stuff in the background because my computer is just in a corner of the living room right now. Um, so if you know this continues to be fun, I'll spend some more money and get a webcam and get a green screen and a desk chair that doesn't do. Can you guys hear this? Can you hear that? It's awful. This I don't know. I shouldn't have. This desk chair's weird. Anyway, if all that's fun, and then there's sorry, I'm fighting a sinus cold. So I'm stuffy. If all that's fun, I have horses in the yard, and I thought it would be super funny when I not super funny, but super unique, and maybe people would be interested in it. Um, if I could show the horses sometime. I don't know. You guys might like that. You might not. But I'm not sure the technical side of how to do that. I have a GoPro, but I can't just like walk outside with the GoPro and take a video and then upload it to here and be like, here's a horse, look guys. That seems kind of, yeah, no, not a horse stream. That sounds really weird and strange and sounds vaguely sexual in a way that I don't like. Uh, Probably because of Clerks 2 or something. But no, it's just whenever I'm streaming and then I'm like, hey guys, AFK a sec, I gotta go feed the horses. People are like, what? And I think it would be funny if I swapped the webcam over and it was an outside cam that showed a horse. Then you guys also would know that I'm not completely full of shit. But anyway, so that's a separate aside. But so years ago when we first got this horse, I'm full of shit, but I do have horses. Yeah, Desmosthenes can confirm. But so years ago, we got a horse, the first horse. Her name's Penny. She's an old horse. She's probably I'm 35, and Penny is probably also about 35. She's getting up there. Um, and we got her 7 or 8 years ago. Is when my wife and I were dating. Yeah, and maybe not 8 years ago. Maybe we've had our house for 5, and we moved here with the horse, and we'd boarded for at least a year before that. So anyway, through and we're boarding at a stable. So how that works, for those of you that don't know, is you have your horse and you go somewhere and you pay them a lot of money. And depending on, or it depends on how you look at money and all that stuff, but you pay a pretty good amount of money. Um, and then depending on what type of setup they have dictates what kind of services you get. I live in Kansas, so around here you can spend anywhere from I would say 150 a month. Although now it's weird with gas prices and hay and fertilizer and feed and everything's on them. But low side back in the day for a pasture boarded horse, which basically just means they had a fenced in area and a yard, and the horse is just chilling. Sometimes with other horses, sometimes not. Depends on the setup. Obviously, the $150 a month is with other horses, and then you show up to that place whenever you want to get your horse. And if you have a trailer and a truck and all that stuff, you load your horse up and go do horse things. Go take him to a place where you can ride trails, or you would go take him to like a fun show or an event or something like that, um, to do like barrels or roping or something. And then the price can go up depending on what type of services and amenities they have. If you want them to put your horse up every night in a stall in a barn, that's going to obviously cost more money because they've got to hire some local farm kid from the area to come do that, or the person that owns the facility will put up your horse every day. And then there's also feed, which sometimes you provide the feed and keep it in an area on site, and they'll feed your feed to your horse. That costs more. Or they'll feed like a generic feed that they're buying in bulk from a co-op. Um, I think my wife always paid it. I think I don't think I ever paid it, but I think ours was around 250, 275 a month, something like that. And so that was mostly pasture, but they would stall penny every night. And so we would go there and see our horse on the weekends. We wouldn't go during the week because it's like a 30 some minute drive out of town down to there, and then go ride our horse. Well, through that, we met other people who had horses. This is a long-winded story to tell you this dumb idea that I have. Sorry, this is how I tell all stories. They're very rambling. So we met this gal through where we boarded, and she is dating a guy, or was dating a guy at the time, and his name was Rance, which is like Lance but with an R, is how he explained it. And Rance um, is a good old country boy, good old country boy. And I mean, first time I met him, he's like hopping up on horses, like no saddle, no nothing, just riding on them. He'd stand on horses, all that stuff. He just grew up around animals, and it was interesting. Like, you look at him and talk to him, and he's got a mouthful of Copenhagen, and he's beer drinking, redneck, right? But also like super smart guy. Yeah, it does sound like a name you gotta spit tobacco after you say. And so Rance, him and I and the two chicks meet up, kind of go on a double date, and we go to this bar in town. And this bar is crazy. It's no longer there, unfortunately. Well, it's there, but it's under a different owner, and they don't offer the same services. But one of the things they did is on Saturday nights they had live bull riding. So this is a club that can probably has a capacity like fire code of like 1,000 people. Has a relatively steep cover for a club of that size. I think it was 18 to enter. So I think if you were 18, it was like $20 maybe to get in, and I think if you're over 21, it was like $10, maybe $5. But relatively steep cover given the fact that it's like 1,000 person club or whatever. Yes, and the club is called Rodeo, which it doesn't exist anymore. Or it does, it's under a different name. And so, but yeah, so part of the bar had like a giant dance floor, multiple bars around the side, and then it had a a bunch of pipe fence, like really stout pipe fence for livestock. And then behind the bar were bull pens with bulls in it. And yes, it smelled like cow shit because they would literally bring bulls in from the outside and have people ride them. And if you wanted to, on a Saturday night, you could go to this club rodeo place and you could pay an entry fee, and they would give you a vest and some gear, very minimal gear, right? You could borrow headgear and you could borrow a vest, which is kind of like a Kevlar vest that the cowboys wear, that in theory keeps you from dying, but man, it's still crazy. And and yeah, you could pay like $75 and you could go compete. And if you rode or were the best ride of the night, there was a purse, and it was like, you know, it depended on how much they, maybe it was more than $75, maybe it was $100 or $150, and then you would get like, I don't know, 50% of the purse. And on any given night, they would have, 6 to 15 people ride, or I should say attempt to ride, because it turns out, you see like PBR on TV if you guys have ever seen that, or on YouTube, which is professional bull riding. Um, and those guys are good. Those guys are the top guys in the world, or some of the top guys in the world. Um, and so you think, oh, okay, and it's 8 seconds, right? All the country songs will talk about, oh, 8 seconds to ride or whatever. Well, in my experience, and I've seen about, oh, I don't know, in the times going there, probably 50 people eat dirt, and most of them don't last but 2 seconds on the bull before they're just getting slammed to the ground in horrible ways, and then sometimes taken off in a stretcher, and then the clowns, which is what they call the guys that are actually the craziest guys. So those are the guys that run in to keep the bull from, well, hopefully to keep the bull from stomping whoever gets thrown on the ground. And so we're there, and apparently Rance knows the guys that run the bulls or something, and we're drinking like really cheap beers. They're awful. They're like $1 a beer or something, and we're having a fun time. The gals are dancing. It's a fun night, and he's like, and a random guy sees him, and he goes, hey Rance, you gonna ride tonight? And he's like, no, man. He's like, I gotta work the next couple of days. He's like, every time I ride, I just can't. I'm so sore. I can't even work for a couple of days. And this dude works like, um, I don't think he's working jobs where he's got like a regular schedule and he's getting like a normal paycheck, right? He's working like cash jobs, fixing fence, running cows, moving pigs, moving horses, whatever, that kind of stuff. And and the guy's like, dude, come on, Rance, you should ride, and and he's like, no, I'm not gonna do it. I'm not gonna do it. And I don't know this guy at all, right? I've hung out with him for a grand total of like 2 hours before this night, and it's just him being crazy riding around on horses and stuff. And obviously he knows how to ride horses. I don't know how he is around bulls or anything, right? And the guy's like, come on, dude, you should do it. And he's like, no, I don't want to. So we have a couple more beers or whatever, and so this guy's like, man, come on, you should at least go in the back, go look at the bull. He's like, I'll put you on a good bull. He's like, you can win. I know you can win. I know you're good enough to win. And he's like, no, so we have a couple more beers, and we're both pretty drunk. And then the guy sees him like third time, and is like, dude, just go check out this bull. I got a real, I guess they call them rank bulls. I got a real rank bull for you. And so we go in the back, and it's outside, so we like walk through this back area where there's all employees. I don't really feel like I should be there. There's like a bunch of cowboys, and I'm just a dude. And we go out back where these bulls are, which is outside, and they're in these really like even more robust fence than is inside the club, right? To keep all of the people in the club from being stampeded by these bulls. And it's all these bulls lined up, and they are angry and large. And the guy's like, yeah, your bull's the whatever one, and kind of describes where it is or whatever. We know what it is. So Rance, at this point, Rance has decided that he's going to ride this bull. So what does he do? So we walk over, and he's like, well, we got to go see how my bull is. So we walk over to meet the bull, and I don't know how you meet a bull, but I guess if you're going to ride it, the way you meet it is by reaching through the bar and slapping I don't know how much a bull weighs. These bulls are probably 2,000 pounds. He reaches through the cage and smacks the bull in the head. Like, not like it's not animal abuse or whatever, right? There's a lot of things in rodeo that are kind of whatever, but that are a little more on the animal cruelty side. That what he was doing was not cruel. It did not hurt the bull, but it did piss off the bull. And so that bull just absolutely smashes into the side of this cage. I jump back and trip over and fall on my ass in this parking lot kind of area behind where all these bulls are. And Rance is just standing there with his face like 1 inch from the metal cage, and that bull's just snorting and flinging snot everywhere. And he just kind of spits his jaw, and he's like, yeah, it's a good bull. I can win on this. And I'm like, what in the hell am I getting myself into? Like, what? This is a weird night. I thought we were going to just drink beer at this club, because I didn't even, at this point, I don't even know that I'd been there before. I think I knew they had bull. I don't know. I don't remember if I'd seen the bull riding before or not. I'd certainly never been behind the scenes. So then he realizes, oh crap, Like he's wearing good boots, he's wearing nice clothes. Like he is not in a setup to ride bulls. He doesn't have a helmet. He doesn't have any of that stuff. And he's like, "What am I gonna do about gear?" And the guy's like, "Oh, your gear's still here in a locker because he used to work there years ago, apparently." So we go open up this locker, and he's got this dusty duffel bag, and it's got a pair of boots in it that are trashed. They're like duct taped together. The heel's like barely on one of the boots. They're all duct taped together. He's got a Kevlar vest that's all duct taped together, and this beat to hell helmet that doesn't even look like it would protect anything. And he's got a rope in there. And the rope's all covered in pine tar, and the rope is what they loop around the bull's nuts, and that's what the the rope like loops around underneath them, kind of hugs their nuts, and that's what the cowboy holds on to when they're riding. And so Rance is like, okay, he's like, so he's getting all his gear on, it's all duct taped together. I'm taking a new roll of duct tape and like wrapping more duct tape around him and trying to get him all reinforced so that he doesn't die. And again, I don't know anything about this guy. The only experience I've seen with this guy in a bull is him slapping the bull in the side of the head, the bull getting pissed off and smashing into the cage and it flinging snot everywhere where I trip and fall in a parking lot. Like that's the sum total of experience with this guy and bulls. And his gear looks terrible. And like I said, I'm duct taping his chest armor on because the zippers broke on it, so it won't stay on. So I'm just duct taping him up like the Marshmallow Man. And he puts all this gear on, and they decide that Rance is not going to go first, so a couple other people go. I don't really know what's going on with them because I can't really tell from the backstage area. And he decides that he tells me I have the most important job. He's like, I'm just riding the bull. He's like, you've got the most important job. He's like, you got to pull the rope. And I'm like, what? He's like, you got to pull the rope. You got to pull the rope tight. And he's like, when you pull the rope tight around this bull, it's going to piss it off because it's hugging its nuts and the bull's going to be mad. So my job is Rance is on the bull. He's in the chute. I'm the guy, if you've ever seen bull riding on TV or whatever, I'm the guy on the backside of the chute. And I'm leaned over this snorting, pissed off bull. And I'm pulling on the rope as hard as I can to bring it up so that he can put it in his hand. Right, and I'm pulling it as tight as I can around the bull up. So I'm basically just grabbing it between my knees, and then I'm doing, like, I'm not pulling with my arms, I'm pulling with my legs. I'm just pulling this thing as tight as I can. Well, every time I pull on it, the bull has been around before. It's not the bull's first rodeo, and what it's trying to do is the bull is kicking its back legs up to throw Rance forward, and then it's trying to gore him with its horns because it's learned this cool trick through its bull life where it's trapped in a cage with an annoying human on its back. And so my whole job is to pull the rope, and they realize, these other guys that are in the area are like, this guy doesn't know what he's doing. He's the worst rope puller ever. And so that job gets taken away from me, which is fine because that's too much responsibility. So then my new job is to stand next to the guy pulling the rope. And when the bull gets pissed off and kicks forward and the bull tries to gore Rance, my whole job is to grab his chest and push him away and keep the horns from spearing him while not getting speared myself, which I was mostly successful with. I did get a cut in a bruise on my arm, but nothing too major. So then while we're there in the chute, and Rance is still reaching over and popping this bull in the back of the head and kind of flicking his ears and stuff, just pissing this thing off because he wants to have a good ride. He's like, I gotta get points. I need a good ride. Which is insane because the bull is like smashing his legs into the cage. I mean, it is not happy at this point. Like he is purposely antagonizing this thing. And while we're sitting there, every other cowboy in the area all have like brand new gear on, brand new helmets with no scratches on them, nice shiny boots. They're wearing like, big stitch designer jeans. And this dude is in a duct tape cobbled together thing. And he's pretty drunk. And he looks at me, looks at these other cowboys, spits probably the biggest chaw I've ever seen out on the ground, and he goes, gear don't make the man. Which is pretty much the most badass thing you can say while you're on the back of a 2,000-pound bull and it's trying to kill you. And he says that, and so that's what I was saying about this game, right? Gear don't make the man. Like your Eidolon guy doesn't need the gear to do. Yeah, it's a long-winded story for the punchline. I don't even know if I landed it right, but you know, Your guys don't care about the gear. It's all about the alchemy and the post office and the stamps and everything else. Like that's where the real power is. Like yeah, you can get an item that'll give you like 6 or 10 more weapon power, but in the grand scheme of things, 6 or 10 more weapon power is like 50,000 damage. Uh, and then Rance rode the bull. He was the only one that rode that night, and he got the money. And he was probably sore for quite a few days because when he dismounted, it was a clean dismount until the bull clipped his leg. Like he rode for way more than 8 seconds. It's probably more like 10 seconds, but the time goes incredibly fast. You know, the horn went off, rode the bull. As he's dismounting, the bull launches him pretty high in the air and it clipped his leg with its back as it went up. And then he definitely just landed on his back from like 10 feet up in the air. And then we drank more dollar beers. And unfortunately, that gal in Rance didn't last much longer than that night, and I never saw that guy again. So yeah, that's the story of Rance the Cowboy. But tell you what, of the like 50 people I've seen eat dirt at that bar, um, I think he was the only one that actually rode 8 seconds, and all of that was for 500 bucks. There's something like that. Maybe it was 600, maybe it was 700, maybe it was 400. I don't know, but it wasn't. It was all cash that night and whatever. But man, I every once in a while when I'm working like a Sunday at work or something, you know, for some overtime, I think that there's better ways to make a couple $100 than fighting a bull. So yeah. Anyway, gear don't make the man.